What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are heating things up because we are finally covering the Forge God himself, Ornn, Fire Below the Mountain. If you're a fan of scaling into an unstoppable late game monster, crafting powerful equipment, and just absolutely bullying your opponent off the board with massive stats, then this is the deck for you. Ornn is unique because his lore is all about craftsmanship and solitude, and that flavor translates perfectly into Riftbound. He's a grumpy blacksmith who just wants to be left alone to build his masterpieces. But if you interrupt him, oh man, you are going to regret it. This deck is incredibly fun because it changes how we look at resource management, and it's strong because once you get your engine running, your units become nearly unkillable. So let's break down exactly how we forge our path to victory. First things first, let's talk about the big guy, our legend, Ornn, Fire Below the Mountain. His ability is a tap reaction that adds 1 power, but, and this is the crucial part, you can only use that power to play gear or use gear abilities. This is huge for your economy, because it means you essentially cutting out equipment costs every single turn. Then we have our chosen champion, Ornn, Forge God. He has Deflect 2, meaning your opponents need to pay 2 additional runes to target him, which makes him incredibly frustrating. He also has Weapon Master, so when you play him, you can equip a piece of gear to him for 1 less power. But the real win condition is in his passive. He gets +1 might for each friendly gear you have in play. This scales infinitely. If you have 5 gears out, Ornn is just walking around with godlike stats. Now we have to talk about something very special with this deck. Ornn is the first champion in Riftbound to receive 3 different signature spells. Usually you get 1 signature spell per legend and run 3 copies in a deck. But here we are only allowed to run 1 of each of these legendary signature spells. First is Rabadon's Death Cap. It gives +3 might, but the kicker is that it grants your spells and abilities 3 bonus damage. A key note here, Rabadons must be attached to a unit to give that bonus damage. You can't just have it sitting there in your base. You need to equip it. Next is Shrelia's Requiem. This costs a rune to equip, gives +2 might, and crucially gives your units at that location ganking, allowing them to move between battlefields. Plus, when you play it, it readies your unit. This is your surprise pivot tool to steal game. Finally, we have Forgefire Cape. This gives +3 might and says that when the equipped unit attacks or defends, you deal 2 damage to all enemy units at that location. This is your board wipe on a stick. Moving on to our battlefields. Since Riftbound is a best of 3, the order of these matters a lot. Here is how I recommend choosing your battlefield. First game, I always start with Ornn's Forge. It reduces the cost of the first non-token gear you play each turn by 1. This, combined with Ornn's ability, gives you an insane economic advantage to early ramp up your board state. For game 2, I would pivot to Forgotten Monument. This battlefield stops players from scoring until their 3rd turn. This is amazing for stalling out aggressive decks that want to win fast. You force them to slow down, which gives you time to build your gear engine. Finally, for game 3, or if you know it's going to be a long grind of a match, use Aspirant's Climb. This increases the points needed to win the game by 1. Why do we want this? Because Ornn wins late game. If the game goes longer, your units get bigger and your opponent runs out of answers. Extending the finish line favors us every time. We run a couple of other champions in the main deck to support Ornn. First is Heimerdinger Inventor. He has a wild ability where he gains all the tap abilities of all friendly legends, units, and gears. Remember Ornn's ability to tap for gear power? Well, now Heimerdinger can do it too. If you have other gears with tap abilities, Heimerdinger becomes a toolbox of every effect you have on the board. We also run Azir Ascendant. His ability lets him swap places with another friendly unit, but the synergy here is that if the unit he swaps with is equipped with a gear, he can take that gear for himself. This allows you to move your powerful unique gears like Rabadons or Forgefire onto Azir right before a fight to surprise your opponents. For our standard units, we maintain a tight and defensive approach. We have Stalwart Poro, which has Shield 1, gaining it extra might when it's a defender. It's cheap and annoying. Then we have Wielder of Water. This unit gets +2 might if it's attacking or defending alone. This is perfect for holding down a battlefield by itself while you pile your resources elsewhere. We also run Tiana Crown Guard. She, like Ornn, has Deflect, making her hard to remove. But her effect here is nasty. While she's at a battlefield, opponents can't gain points. You park her at a battlefield you control, and you basically lock your opponent out of scoring through holding or any other card effect. A huge play with Tiana is to push her to a battlefield you control. Since they can't gain points, you force them to overcommit resources to kill her. If you have Forgefire Cape on her, when they try to attack you, the cape triggers and deals 2 damage to their attacking units, likely wiping out cheap low might units to try to deal with her. It's a devastating combo. Now for the heart of this deck, the seals and the gears. We run Doran Shield for the tank keyword and extra might, which forces enemies to attack that unit first. We have Zanya's Hourglass, which is a hidden card that lets you pop it to save a unit from dying, heal it, and recall it back to base. It's a get out of jail free card for your big units. For economy, we have Seal of Focus and Energy Conduit. Both of these let you tap as a reaction to add resources. Focus adds a calm rune, Conduit adds generic energy. These are great because, as the rules state, abilities that add resources can't be reacted to. Your opponent can't stop your ramp. We also have Poro Snacks for card draw, and Guardian Angel, which revives a unit, heals it, and recalls it back to base if it would die. In the process though, you need to destroy Guardian Angel. 2 really spicy gears to mention: Spellsonger copies the text of the unit it's attached to. Imagine attaching this to Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger already copies everything else, and now Spellsonger copies Heimerdinger. World Atlas creates 2 gold gear tokens when the unit holding it scores a point. This is your infinite money glitch. There is a beautiful interaction with Heart of Dark Ice. It taps to give a unit +3 might for the turn. Since Heimerdinger copies all tap abilities, if you have Heart of Dark Ice on the board, Heimerdinger also gains the ability to tap to give +3 might. You can essentially double pump a unit's stats out of nowhere to survive a trade or push a battlefield for lethal. Our spell package is almost entirely reactive. We want to protect our big investments. We run Defy, which counters spells costing 4 or less and 1 power. We run Windwall to hard counter any spell, and we run Not So Fast, which specifically counters spells or abilities that choose your units or gears. This suite of counter spells is essential. Your opponents will try to banish Ornn or shatter your Forgefire Cape. You need to say no. We also run Consult the Past for card draw. Don't be afraid to use Not So Fast aggressively. If an opponent uses an ability on their own unit that targets yours, like a fight spell, Not So Fast counters it. But remember, Defy has a restriction. It only hits spells costing 4 or less and no more than 1 power. Against big control decks, playing massive 6 cost removal, save your Windwall for those and use Defy for smaller utility spells. Finally, let's talk about the sideboard. In Riftbound, a sideboard is a set of 8 cards you can swap into your deck between games. Knowing what to take out is just as important as what you put in. First up, Janna, Savior. She heals your units and bounces an enemy back to base. The swap, you bring her in against aggressive decks. I recommend swapping out World Atlas. It's a great value for your engine, but it's too slow when you're being rushed down. Janna buys you immediate time. Next is Blitzcrank Impassive. He has tank and pulls an enemy to him. He is great for disruption. I like to swap out one of the Ornn Forge Gods for him. Once we have 2 Ornn Forge Gods on the board, we can rally up on a battlefield, and use Blitz to capitalize on their high might to deal with threats on the enemy's base and potentially freeing up the other battlefield. Then we have Charm. It moves an enemy unit. If your opponents rely on specific positioning, bring this in. Swap out a copy of Poro Snacks. You sacrifice a little bit of draw power for the ability to force their key blockers and key attackers out of the way and potentially trade. We also run an additional copy of Defy. We run 2 copies of Defy in the main deck, but the maximum allowed is 3. If you face a heavy Spellslinger legend like Ezreal or Lux, you absolutely need the 3rd copy. In a Spellslinger matchup, I would cut Doran Shield. Physical defense matters less when they are burning your units with spells, so trade the shield for an extra Defy to max your disruption. And finally, the 3rd signature spell, Forgefire Cape. This is the first time I've had to sideboard a signature spell. Because we can only have 1 copy of each unique item, we keep the cape on the side. It deals 2 damage to all units at its location when you attack or defend. Against flood decks, the board with small units, this is your MVP. I would usually swap out Shurelya's Requiem. You trade the mobility and speed of Shurelya's for raw board clearing power of the cape. It's a distinct upgrade in those swarm matchups. To wrap this up, Ornn is currently sitting in a really strong spot. It's a deck that disrupts other decks that tries to stall. His win condition is inevitable. You play defensively early, ramp up your gear with Ornn's ability and Ornn's Forge, and eventually your units are just mathematically bigger than anything your opponent can field. My final piece of advice, don't panic if you fall behind on points early. The deck is designed to stabilize. Once you get Tiana on a point and Ornn suited up with a Death Crown, there is very little in the game that can stop you. That is it for this week's Ornn deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed forging some wins on the ladder. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Riftbound content. Also, let me know in the comments below what legend you want to see next. I'll see you guys in the next one.